Welcome to Tech Leaders Today with your host, Cassie Crossley. All comments, views, and opinions expressed on this show are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers. Now here's Cassie Crossley.
Hi, Espree. Thank you so much for coming to the Tech Leaders Today podcast. Welcome.
I love it. Hi, Cassie. I'm so excited.
You sound excited. I'm excited too. I wanted to hear all about the projects that you're involved in and what you have going on. So tell people about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, it's just such a privilege to be on your show. It's what I've been looking forward to all day. My name is Espree Devora, and I created We Are LA Tech, which unifies the LA Tech community from investors, engineers, product managers, UX designers, founders, everyone looking to work in or be a part of the LA Tech scene here. I think we're either the number 2 or number 3 startup city. So we keep switching with Tel Aviv in New York. So I'm not sure where we are this particular week, but we're up there. We're in the top 3. And I'm also a producer and host of the Women in Tech podcast. It's been really exciting. You could say overall, I cultivate communities. I'm really interested in creating a high level of authentic relationships between people in the tech space.
Great. What is your background? I mean, how did you get involved in all of the tech community in LA? Are you from there? And what's up with all that?
Oh, yeah. So I'm born and raised LA. A lot of people call me the girl who gets it done. I think I'm kind of like, the Girl Fridays, that I kind of do a little bit of everything. Like if something needs to get done, I just get it done. And I've always been that way. And so my dad got me into technology. He was an early adopter, so he had me on video games, and then he had a computer in his office, and I would play on the computer. And and I'm surprised that I didn't go straight from there to become a programmer or something, because I could have easily taken that trajectory. But I took the trajectory of an entrepreneur, and I've just consistently been attracted to technology. And I was also really into the action sports space, like skateboarding and motocross and surfing. And so I created the first social network for action sports back when MySpace was new. No one has ever told me anything different. It seems that I was the first female to ever raise money in the action sports industry, which is pretty gnarly. I mean, it's
really
so cool. I don't think I had an appreciation for it at the time, but now I'm like, wow, that was awesome. At
Good
the time,
for you.
I was like, what's next? I thought, what's next? Okay, we got that down. What's next? We got that down. What's next? But the way I started my sports company was, first I was like, God, wouldn't it be great if there was a way that people who love action sports could just connect around the world? How novel. And at this time, social networking, Friendster was out, but social networking wasn't a thing. And so I created this action sports site, and then my site gets hacked. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And it was down for something like 6 months. I hired people, and I was a waitress. I was a yacht stewardess. I was all these things. So I just have always been self-sacrificing to be an entrepreneur. I would spend every last penny in order to make my websites work, kind of thing. I ended up emailing my friends, and I was like, look, there's this thing that I'm building. And this is before it was cool to be a startup. There's this thing that I'm building, and I really believe in it. And I don't know what to do. Do you guys know, my friends from college and everything, do you guys know anyone that could fix this, make it work again? And one of my girlfriends was like, yeah, actually, my boyfriend is in security. He can do it. He fixed it in 24 hours. It was amazing. And then at that time I was introduced to someone an advisor, and that guy said, okay, now MySpace had come out. Social networking is done. You have to be the CNN of action sports. You have to have a media team everywhere shooting everything. So you won't believe it, Cassie, but I leveraged my credit cards. I totally annihilated my perfect credit score. I hired I hired cameramen, and I hired hosts, and I used my high school journalism background to get press passes, and started shooting video like crazy, and overnight became essentially an action sports media production company. And it was really, really exciting. We shot people like Tony Hawk and Shaun White, and it was just ridiculously exciting. My vision for that company was to become the Google of action sports. I did not realize that vision. And at the time, I was absolutely devastated. And then that's a whole nother chapter of being an entrepreneur and an amazing learning lesson that was not fun to go through at the time, but it gave me a lot more compassion now that I've gotten past it. But a learning lesson, what is success? Like, what does failure really mean? And I had to learn these things the hard way. I was really sad, really depressed for a while. Like, I was so integrated into my brand that I like lost my identity when I lost my company, and it was hard.
Oh.
And but it was so worth it because it's everything that made me who makes me who I am today. Just to kind of like bring it full circle, what I learned is, at least to me, right? I'm one person in this very big world, but I believe success is taking action. As long as you take a step forward, you're succeeding. It's when we don't take action, that's failure.
I totally agree. I absolutely agree. That what gave you the idea of building this tech entrepreneurial community?
Yes, it is. It has a lot of different components. Like we have like the podcast, and we have an offline experience club, which is really cool, where I do like horseback riding and clay pigeon shooting with people in the tech community. We have a private chat group, but it stems from that pain point of not wanting people to be as alone as I was. I wanted to create a safe environment, a safe atmosphere for people to be able to create genuine relationships to support one another in their growth. And it's something that I felt that I didn't have when I went through it with my sports company. And so I wanted to create that for others. And there's a lot of other pieces. For instance, like the offline experience club comes from my love for backpacking around the world. You know, the podcast comes from my love of like moderating panels. And so there's like little pieces of my personality in each one. But the overall like kind of mission is that we're in this together.
And when you're working with all of the people around LA, do you find that this community, is it millennial and Gen X? Are you primarily finding that the LA community is a younger generation, or what's happening there?
You know, I don't really look at it in those terms. It is everybody. I don't view it in those terms. However, how I do view it, to address your question, when I was backpacking, I traveled through Europe. I went to 14 different countries, meeting startups in every country to get kind of like re-inspired from the tech space. What I realized is that our fears and insecurities are global. And that's what I thought was interesting, is that no matter whether you speak English or don't speak English, or no matter what country you live in, we all feel the same fears and desires as a startup culture and community. And I'm like, well, if the person in Slovenia feels this way and the person in California feels this way, let's have them be able to connect and know that they're not alone. I think when it comes to age, it's like super popular to like get out of college. I mean, even in junior high school, there's this organization called Hacker Fund, and they do like hackathons where you build stuff in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this really exciting thing with like junior high school students and high school students. Kids are starting like super young. I wouldn't be surprised if they're starting in elementary school. Yeah, it leans younger in general because I just think it's part of the pop culture. But no, we are like tech ecosphere. It's all different ages. My age range for people that I connect with or that come into the space and ask me questions are anywhere from very light, like sprinkled, like 18, but mainly like 23 to about 45-ish, I would guess. I don't ask people their age, but I would just guess by, are they married? Do they have kids? That kind of, are they out of college, in college, that kind of thing.
So what do you think in the LA community, both in the startup tech and in, I'm sure you know folks in the enterprise kind of companies, larger companies, what attracts and retains talent there, especially in LA when you've got 2-hour commutes and so on and so forth? What do you find is the driver? You hear all the Silicon Valley perks. So what is it for you guys?
That attracts talent in Los Angeles?
Yes. Yeah.
The beach.
So if you put your office near the beach, that works. Yeah.
No, it's the beach, it's the skateboarding, it's the lifestyle here. It's also less expensive than San Francisco. It's the celebrity life, it's the nightlife. It's a very different vibe here. It's fascinating. You could go out on the street and ask someone about your app. A person is not like an app connoisseur, and you'll get a really real feedback experience, right? Whereas in San Francisco, every billboard has a tech company. It's so ingrained into your blood. Mm-hmm. It's not a good representation of like someone from the Midwest or someone, from another country. So be able to go to like Hollywood Boulevard and ask all sorts of people, all the tourists, their opinion on your app is a really powerful thing to be able to do, a resource that we have as builders.
That's an interesting concept. I am from the Atlanta area, and I guess it was the same. It wasn't all technology. It wasn't built in, but the community there was so prevalent. Everybody knew somebody. And I guess you're starting to feel that in LA?
Totally. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just really accessible to build your network here. And you don't have to know someone who knows someone, because you're going to meet someone and that person's going to know the person. You know? Like, it's an open environment to create new relationships at all times.
Are you looking to reach technology leaders? Hosting a podcast does have some costs involved. I'm searching for sponsors on this weekly podcast to simply pay for the hosting, editing, and marketing associated with this great podcast. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, please contact me through Twitter or my website, and soon you'll be reaching technology leaders around the world. Tell me about the different initiatives or anything that you've got going on that you're excited about. What's happening for you or the We Are LA Tech?
Sure. Well, I am so stoked. So November 1st, we're coming out with the We Are LA Tech and Women in Tech podcast daily, which is insane, except weekends.
Daily?
So I want to give a shout out to our editor, Matt Webster with MKW Films. I'm so grateful. I would not be able to make it happen without Matt Webster. So I have to plug MKW Films. He's amazing. He's an incredible storyteller. And I'm so passionate about podcasting, and I view editing as painting audio. I love it. Like I just really like feel that I get to have creative expression, but I can't simply serve as many people as I want to serve if I'm doing it alone. And it's hard for me to trust someone to be able to share the story that I'm, trying to share, because a lot of people, they don't have the same care and love that I would, naturally. And so the Matt is as genuinely excited about sharing a story and knows how to share a story. I feel so blessed. I can't shout out to Matt without saying thank you to Genevieve and Carl and Felice and everybody else on the team that helped support. None of the show notes would get done if it wasn't for Carl, But yeah, the editing part was huge. And so we're coming out with the podcast daily, and it's great. Carl also built our site, wearetech.fm, so we can put all of our podcasts under the one umbrella, which is great. Because not everything's LA. Like the Women in Tech one is global. That's going to be so cool. I've already been interviewing all these women everywhere, and it's just the whole concept behind that is actionable empowerment. And so I wanted to create a positive piece of content where you leave saying, if she could do it, so can I. That increases your belief in self. And I'm so, so stoked and privileged to share those stories too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to subscribing to that one, because I have looked at doing a Women in Tech one, but I have so many contacts that are people I've worked with for a very long time, and I would not have the privilege of interviewing them also. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to hit both genders. And that's why I started the Tech Leaders Today podcast. But I will definitely be listening, and I really want to encourage, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you should definitely be listening to the Women in Tech podcast when it comes out, because 100%. I don't think that our voices are represented well enough and loud enough. I'm so stoked for what you're going to be doing. That's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think whether male or female, it all starts with a belief in self. And if we don't believe we can, then you can't move any step further, right? So just be able to contribute to the tech world, even if I could get to one person to listen to an episode and they said, and they're like, I can do this. That would be amazing. So crossing fingers. But yeah, it's coming out daily, November 1st for both of them. It's going to be insane.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? And also, if you could provide what the best way to contact you. I know you have many ways to contact you. So what's your favorite way for for folks to reach out to you?
Well, I think the easiest way, because it all kind of like links back to each other, is I really, really want to support you guys. Like, I call myself a hippie capitalist, and I lean on the hippie more than the capitalist. And so I wouldn't, be on the show if I didn't want to show up for you. And so please feel free to tweet me at Espree Devora. If you want to check out the shows, they're in my Twitter profile there, at Women in Tech Show and at We Are LA Tech. But just if you go to at Espree Devora, you can just connect and say hi. And, and yes, I'll follow back, and we can DM and direct message, so you don't have to have your conversation everywhere. I really want to be there for you. It's the same thing I would have wanted for me when I was, 17, 18, starting out.
Well, thank you so much. So any parting words of wisdom for especially tech leaders who are, all around the world today? What do you want to say to them?
Sure. One, your intuition is your oracle. That was my biggest lesson so far. And then that we create our own journey. We create our own story. A lot of people think, if I just do everything Richard Branson did, or everything Tim Ferriss did, or, everything someone else did, then I'll just achieve what they have. We need to create our own stories, because they were in their own set of circumstances in a certain place at a certain time to meet certain people and have certain resources to get to where they are today. And all of those resources and more are available to each one of us, and we just need to take action.
Very true. Thank you so much for joining me today, Espree.
Thank you, Kathy. Seriously, this has been so awesome. It's such a privilege to be on your show. Like, this is just, I'm going to jump out of my chair.
Thank you. I want to thank you so much for listening today. If you love this podcast, please do share it with your friends and colleagues. And please leave a review on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, because it makes a difference for circulation. For the show notes and other great info, enter your email into the mailing list at techleaderstoday.com. Thank you.